We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180, 1230 KGEO, and 1410 KERI. So, Clay, what did you think of Jim Bakker?
Interesting book.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm anxious to get my copy so I can read it.
Yes, me too. It's a fascinating story. But we're going to take a little bit of a turn, not much, but our guest by phone is Sonny Thompson, the star of Marilyn Forever Blonde. Sonny, welcome to Taking Care of Business.
Well, thank you. Nice to be with you. I just bought the book, Empty Glass.
Did you really?
Yeah, I'm going to actually read it at our summer place this weekend, so I'm excited to read it. And I know that Jim Bakker is not of the opinion that she died by suicide, and I think that he's absolutely correct. So.
Wow. Well, I was going to wait a little while to get into that, but since you've gone there, what do you think? You don't think it was a suicide, huh?
No, I think there's too much evidence. There's hard evidence out there that proves otherwise. So I really don't think that's part of the mystery anymore, that she committed suicide. And I think it's very suspect that when someone dies, that within hours their phone records are completely wiped off the grid, and all of their information becomes FBI top secret.
Right.
Files that cannot be opened, that are now lost, quote unquote. So, I just think that's very, very suspect. And the hard evidence in the autopsy is that she didn't have enough Nembutal to have caused the suicide. There were actually two sleeping drugs that were in conflict with each other in her system, and that the doctors had prescribed, and that's what killed her. Neither one would have killed her. So.
Well, and to have a combination with 50 pills in your system, how the heck do you get 50 pills into your stomach and not have something happen, after the 5th or 6th or 7th or 10th or 15th? How the heck do you get to 50 and not have any water there?
Yeah, there's a myriad of things. How she died, the position she was in. And then she was. The whole thing is very, 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 very suspect, and I don't believe she committed suicide. And she had too much to look forward to at that time in her life. That was another thing. Her contract with Something's Gotta Give had been reinstated. She was going to be, second to Elizabeth Taylor. She was going to be the highest paid actress in Hollywood. She had, Playboy wanted her to do a spread. She just had a myriad. She was planning a book with George Barris. And they had done a whole photo shoot that would have supported that. She just had a ton of things going. So that's not somebody who's going to commit suicide,
So let's go a different direction for a second and tell me, who is Sonny Thompson?
Well, Sonny Thompson is basically a singer from Minnesota and an actress. It's been my life's work, and I've done many, many, many roles. Marilyn is one of them, and probably the most challenging, I would say, and the most gratifying at the same time. But I grew up born and raised in Minnesota, and went to a music school and got a music degree with a theater minor, and went on and started my profession. I've been lucky to never had a real job.
Well, how'd you end up becoming Marilyn Monroe?
Well, it was I was doing a show in Las Vegas. I have a play. It's not a play, actually. It's a musical, more of a musical review. It's like Mitzi Gaynor meets Gwen Stefani. It's a stage show, and I have a band and live dance and male dancers, and within that show is a segment of impressions for the comedy element, and they're all Hollywood blondes, and Joan Rivers narrates it on the red carpet, and oh, can we talk?
Can we talk?
And it goes to Mae West, and my husband was who produced that show said, and wasn't my husband at the time, said, "Gosh, I never thought of you as Marilyn because you have long, I always had long blonde hair." And he goes, "When you put on that wig, you resemble her quite a lot." And I go, "Really?" So because I have a play I wrote about her a long, long time ago. I'd like you to read it. And I read it and said, "No way. That's a lot of work." So that's how it started.
You know, this is Marty. Sonny, I can't get the spread out of my mind.
Okay, you boy.
We're having a conversation with Sonny Thompson, star of Marilyn Forever Blonde. What's your website again? Because I think your website is great, and it tells a lot about the play and where it's playing and everything. So
Marilyn Forever Blonde with an E.com.
Okay, Marilyn Forever Blonde with an E.com.
You know, there was a famous line that Marilyn did was, "Mr. President, come up and see me sometime." Would you like to do that for us?
Mr. President, would you like to come up and see me sometime?
Call me President. Here I come.
Oh, good. You were talking about me with the spread, huh? Good, Clay. Good. One of the things, your show... Thanks, Clay. Your show, and I've seen it twice, once here in Bakersfield and once at the El Portal in North Hollywood. I like how you do. First of all, it's all her own words, so there's nothing in there that is not something she has said. And you've got the show going on at 4 or 5 spots. You know, one is a bedroom, one is a changing area. So you really get into her. You really get a feel for what was going on in her life. In the play, you show her vulnerability and her insecurity. Do you think that's finally what led to her demise, other than, you know, anything that may have happened with, you know, some of the guys she was involved with that may have done her in the end? But do you think that insecurity finally led to what happened to her indirectly?
Yes, I think her death was caused partly by the insecurity, but I think it was even more than that, in that, you know, this was a girl who just was not given a fair shake in the world. I mean, she just did not, it was not fair. She was born into a whole situation where her mother didn't want her. She was a mistake. She didn't know who her father was, you know, for sure. She didn't know what her last name, she went by Baker, but could have been Mortensen, you know. That's a pretty shaky start. You know, in and out of 9 foster homes, in and out of the orphanage a couple of times. You know, and she could not, her mother was still alive, but she couldn't be adopted by one of these foster families. She'd go to a foster home, say with another child, a little boy, for example, and he was adopted to the family adopted the child, the little boy, but they sent Marilyn back to the orphanage, and that happened time and again. And the reason they couldn't adopt her was because her mother was still alive and had made her, I'm not sure if she had a guardian, but because she was alive, her mother was alive, she'd always hoped to take Marilyn back and never got to that point mentally. She tried once and it was disastrous, and Marilyn ended up going back, you know, to live with a family relative, I think a family friend or something. And so, you know, that's a tough way to grow up right there, and then to have accomplished all she did in her career, which is near impossibility for someone who has a tremendous amount of support, to say nothing of having no support at all, and, you know, achieving what she did. But then when she did achieve it, you know, it was the monster. It was the thing that was so hard, and she did have no one to turn to that didn't want her for now being this icon that she had created out of her own little mind. You know, that she really was, you know, another person. Nobody wanted her for her every day. When all the chips were down, you know, I can knock on my mother and father's door in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. I don't have to knock. I walk through the front door and say, "Mom." She didn't have that place.
So how did she break out of all this depression?
How did she? I think it was a sheer, you know, will of iron. She had to. She was constantly in books that you read. There's a lovely book by Truman Capote called A Lovely Child, and he goes back and reminisces about having drinks with Marilyn on several occasions in New York. And she's constantly on this little roller coaster ride within her own psyche, but she's trying so hard to be happy and needing to laugh and trying just so hard to get up, to make everybody laugh. But the minute there's a pause, she's back down again. So I think there was up and down and up and down, and it was just a sheer, will.
To get better, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's pick up there in a moment when we get back, okay?
Okay.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180.